Welcome to the 11th DEM I Wonder webinar. DEM has so many services, offerings, programs, and hidden gems that we want to share with all of you. So we're excited to take just a few minutes each week to highlight these features in our weekly webinar. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, many exercises have been postponed or canceled. The Utah Division of Emergency Management is hosting this weekly webinar series aimed at providing local emergency managers with relevant content and opportunities to enhance their capabilities. Webinars will be live for Q&A and will be recorded for later viewing on the DEM website and YouTube channel. Most of these webinars will be seminars or workshops with a hands-on portion, which will allow emergency managers to become oriented to a DEM process or test a DEM product. Our schedule today will be as follows. We'll start with our ground rules and etiquette. Next, we'll have a brief presentation by Alden Orm on I wonder what resources are available for senior officials. Following the presentation, there will be a hands-on portion where participants will be encouraged to test out the product or process that was presented. Following the hands-on portion of our program, the presenter will be available for a Q&A session. Following the Q&A, we'll close with a short message about upcoming webinars. The ground rules today are fairly simple. Please mute your line while the presenter is presenting. If you have a question, you may type it in the group chat or unmute at the appropriate time to ask your question. This session is being recorded and will be available on our website for future viewing. Thank you all for your attendance today. And with that, we'll turn the time over to Alden Orm.
Okay. Let me there we go. Can everybody see that slide? Everybody hear me and see the slide? All right. You are in for a treat today. This is the very first I Wonder webinar that is coming to you live from the brand new Taylorsville State Office building. And the name of the conference room that I'm in is Little Sahara. And for you that know your geography, the real Little Sahara is located by my hometown, Little Sahara Sand Dunes. So I feel right at home up here, and it's good to be with you. It's good to see, as I've been in these I Wonder webinars, my favorite part is getting to see all my friends throughout the state of Utah that we don't get to bump into very often. And so I'm excited to be with you today and spend just a few minutes. But I realize that there is many experts that are attending this little I Wonder. So if you have something to add as we go through this, feel free to jump in and let us know, because I know that there's a lot of great ideas throughout the state. But the I Wonder webinar that I've decided to visit with for you for just a few minutes today is I wonder what resources are available for our senior officials. So if Tracy, you want to switch to the next slide there. So to start with, what is a senior official? And so FEMA has a definition. It's executives or appointed officials, and then they throw the subtitle in there, elected. And so I think that throughout our nation, that definition of what a senior official is varies from what area of the country you're in. For instance, a county sheriff is very different in the east part of our country versus the western part of our country. But the bottom line, the answer to this question, who is a senior official, is totally depends on your jurisdiction. It can be anybody you want to. And so anybody you feel that is important to your emergency management program in your county or your jurisdiction, those are your senior officials. A lot of times I think people that get overlooked are maybe school superintendents or principals or other civic leaders that are in your area that play a particular important role in your area, and that varies and is very different. But so a lot of what we're going to talk about today is those elected officials, whether it's a mayor, city council, county commissioners, county council, county mayor. There's a lot of different definitions and variations there. And so a lot of times also in different jurisdictions, that city manager or the county executive or county manager plays a real critical active role in a lot of emergency management decisions. So the bottom line is, hey, it's up to you as that county emergency manager to decide who your senior officials are. But in a lot of this, we're going to talk about is those elected officials. So let's go to the next slide. So here's a little test for you, a little quiz. So as I go through these acronyms, I want you to kind of do a little evaluation of your senior elected officials. Do they know what these are? And not just what the acronym stands for. Do they know in depth all of these things? Do they know NIMS, ICS, EOC, the difference between an EOC and an ECC? A MAC group, what is that? GIS, JIC, and IC, UC, we all see. And so I'm going to pick on somebody with that last one there. I seen Whitney Waterfalls on this call today. Whitney, can you give us an answer? What do we mean by we all see? IC, UC, we all see. Whitney, can you unmute and give us that answer? Oh, Joaquin got you on the chat. He's already got it there. And that is correct. We all care. I see, you see, we all see. We all care because we are deeply caring individuals. And so if you see a little humor in that, I would warn you that that's an indication that you're becoming like your parents, or even worse, you might be identifying as a NIMS nerd if you find humor in that last little acronym there. All right, let's go to the next one there. All right, what is the role of a senior official in an emergency? And so with those acronyms on that last slide, if it's really not enough for them just to know the titles of those, they need to know those in depth. And so as an emergency manager, and you start to transition into helping educate your senior officials, because and I can say this because I was an elected official, I feel like I can say it. Just because you win a popularity contest does not make you an expert necessarily. But people that become elected officials, they usually do that because they are caring people and they do care and they want to succeed and they want to fill their role. But they may not know what their role really is. And I've seen it several times to where they're not really confronted with this question of what is the role of a senior official in emergency management until actual disaster time. And when that happens, it's very overwhelming to them because you're torn. You feel like you need to take a role in that emergency or have a say in that emergency, or you sincerely want to help and you're a leader now and I'm going to lead through this emergency. But without knowing and understanding the system and what their role is, it can be very confusing to them to know exactly what they want to do. So most senior management people, they want to know, and they want to know long before that disaster ever happens of what their role is. And so as an emergency manager, and you start a program to educate them and bring them on board and have them assist you and help you in emergency management for the citizens in your area, it's very important to go back to that last slide and talk to them about, hey, here's a place to start. And if they don't understand some of those, then you can create a training on that one specific concept of emergency management. And I always felt that, it's through association. If you get to know them and they get to know you, and you have that regular interaction with those elected officials, only good can come from that. And so if you have it set up to whatever time they will allow you, even if it's only 15 minutes a month or every other week or every week, whatever time frame that you can agree on, maybe it's at the end of their regular meetings after they go out of meeting and it's not part of their regular city council or county commission, and not being recorded so that they can feel free to ask questions and be educated. That you have set down, and you could pick one of those topics and just discuss, hey, what is NIMS, and this is what it is, and go into depth, because knowledge for them is going to this question of what their role is. And so as you sit down and discuss what the role is pre-disaster, during the disaster, and post-disaster, and a lot of times, I know in years past we were really good at responding but not all that good at recovery. And so there is an important kind of shift in emergency management, that they need to know their role even post-disaster. So let's go to the next slide, Tracy. This is one that I always found very interesting. And through my career, delegation of authority is, it's a lot of people, do they understand what delegation of authority is? And for your elected officials, this may be one of the most critical components of emergency management for them to understand, because this is what allows other agencies, other jurisdictions to come in and give you mutual aid or to help. And so there's some misconceptions of delegation of authority. Well, I'm not going to give away my authority. Why would I want to give away my authority? They're not going to get my authority. They'll have to pry that away from me. It's not that at all. And so in the instance of a sheriff, he can't do all the responsibilities and tasks that are issued to him. And so he has to have deputies to help him with that. And they can have as many deputies as they need, can afford really, or deemed necessary. But they are not giving any of their authority away as that elected official. They are sharing that authority. And so it's important that your elected officials understand, in an emergency, they're not giving anything up. They are sharing that with those responding agencies. And so the question there is, what is it? Who can do it? And, why would we want to do it? And so one of the important things as you educate your elected officials about delegation of authority is let them know that that's just not a blanket statement to say, okay, hey, I've given my authority up, come on in and take this incident over and run with it, because we all know it starts local, ends local, you're paying the bill, you should have a say through the whole thing. And I know a lot of times in Utah, with one of the major disasters we experience is wildland fire, those type 1 teams are so efficient and so professional that they come in, and sometimes you might feel like you're getting pushed aside, or that they're just taking over and now you don't have any say in that incident. But when you do that delegation of authority, even for a type 1 team has to have that delegation of authority. And when they come in, that delegation of authority can spell out, what you're authorizing them to do. And it's your control mechanism of still having say in that incident. So it's very critical that you as an emergency manager understands that delegation of authority, and that your senior and elected officials also have that understanding. So, and those are some topics that you can discuss, and what is it? Who can do it in our area or in our jurisdiction? Who has that authority to delegate authority? And different elected officials have different parts of authority that they can delegate. So those are could be a specific training for that group so that they understand that very well. So, all right, let's go to the next slide there, Tracy. Okay, the policy group. A lot of times, I've seen where a newly elected official comes in and they show up at an incident happens, and if we have not done a sufficient job of training them of what's expected and what their role is, they may show up at your incident command and say, what do you need? What do you need from me? What can I do? What am I supposed to be doing? You know, a million and one questions. Because when they go, you know, people know who their county commissioner is. And when they go to the store, people are asking them, hey, what's going on with that disaster? What are you doing? What's going on? What do I need to be doing? You know, and so they need to be brought into that incident and be, you know, brought up to speed and have a clear operational picture of what's happening and what's going on. But they need to know what their role is. And so a lot of times that policy group is after that delegation of authority, you know, those elected officials are going to come together and they're going to set up some of the restraints and some of the policy decisions of what is happening during that response. And sometimes, you know, as a responder, the person managing that incident, we feel that that could be a little bit of a conflict. Hey, we don't want them to have any say in this. Well, if that is your mindset, I would tell you that you're wrong, because there's certain things in an incident that you do not have authority to do. And there's other things that you don't want to have that authority all by yourself because you want to share that liability when this is all said and done. I will guarantee you that there will be times that you'll want that commission group and the county attorney and all those people on your team, on your side, after this is all said and done. So discuss, what does a policy group look like in our area? Who's in it? Where are we going to locate them? You know, and then have educational trainings for that group to know what a policy group may be tasked with and may not be tasked with. So that's a whole nother area that you can dive into and have some trainings and discussions of how that's going to look in your individual jurisdiction. All right, let's go to the next one. This one may, what is the role of the senior official in regards to resource management? So here's another question is, you know, what do we want their role to be? What is their role? I don't want them messing with my resources because in an emergency, you know, nothing gets done without resources. But so their role may not be, is very different than the emergency manager or the first responders. But I will guarantee you to have a successful resource management program, they need to be actively involved in that and have a say in it. Because when you go, who's paying the bill for all those resources? You know, who's helping you get that inventory and making sure it's up to protocol, up to snuff, and that it's working and all those things. And so as you set up, like I say, in my opinion, you know, if you can set up shorter meetings with those individuals and keep them informed, you know, if you have a meeting every week or every other week or at least once a month, and you go in there and inform them what the status is of your resource inventory and what you have and where, you know, whatever it is, and just a quick synopsis of that, I think you'll find out that when you go in and you need some funding and it becomes critical, that they are a lot more receptive because they know you care. They know you're taking care of it. They know you're aware of the needs and more importantly, you're aware of the shortfalls. And I think you'll find a lot more cooperation in that financial part of it, because that's always a challenge for most jurisdictions. You know, they don't have excess money to just throw at resources. But resource management is a critical component of emergency management. And I think you all understand that. So let's go to the next one. All right. And why do we care about any of this? So here is some reasons why. You know, at the bottom one there, that's Governor Orlean Walker signed in 2004 that everybody in the state of Utah would operate under NIMS, the National Incident Management System, and Homeland Security Presidential Directive 5 in 03, and then Presidential Policy Directive 8 in 11. Those were in regards to responses to Katrina and other things. That the first one is the response part, you know, Homeland Security Presidential Directive 5 was was that, hey, our country is never going to be caught off a guard again as bad as we were in Hurricane Katrina. And we're going to do a better job of responding, and we're going to have those mutual aids, and we're going to work better together. And the other is a preparedness in Presidential Policy Directive 8. There's a preparedness component of that it's not just about responding, it's about being prepared. And so if your agency accepts any federal grant dollars, then you have accepted that you are going to comply and become NIMS compliant. And so that, and with the signature of the governor and that being carried on every year in Utah, we've all agreed that we are going to become NIMS compliant. So if you'll go to the next slide, Tracy. So our senior officials need to be NIMS compliant also. And so down there on this slide, you'll see there's a senior leader toolkit that if you haven't taken the opportunity to go and check that out, and then there's a checklist and there's some links there that you can go to and find some materials to help your senior and elected officials. And there's things there that talk about delegation of authority and some sample forms of that and some different checklists to make sure that they understand, what their role is in emergency management. Then you have a training component there. We have the independent study IS 908, which has that checklist embedded in it. You have an ICS 402, and that's where a lot of the things we've talked about today is embedded in that 402. And in the state of Utah, there's several people that are certified ICS instructors. And, hopefully after July, we're going to be able to come out and do in-person ICS 402 courses again for you in person. And those can take anywhere from, about a half hour, an hour to about 2 hours. The only thing I would not incorporate that in with like a city council or a county commission meeting, because a lot of those, they're busy and focused on the county or city business. And it doesn't seem to, it's not the best platform to come and teach that to them. But if they can have a work session or a training to come out, we'd be glad to come out or help in your area identify people that are certified to come out and teach that ICS 402 course, which is a senior and elected official course. And it's a good way to, to have a instructor come and teach that. And then from there, as your county emergency manager or city emergency manager, then you can build on that and pick those individual components up and have those weekly or monthly trainings and just break it down to little snippets so that it's, they can manage it in their schedules and during their times. So then at the bottom there, you have a DEM training calendar link that will go to forms. And so where you'd like to schedule one of those 402s, you can go in there and there is a course request form that you can link up with and fill out and submit that your jurisdiction would be interested in receiving one of those trainings. And so there is the link. And if you haven't been to here, this is a really handy way to go. There's that little button up above there that's in with the green on it. That's a link into Utrain for signing up for courses or to go to the Utrain account. That's an easy way to get there. And then all the way down through there, you'll see those where the course request forms are. Your link to our calendar, to the independent study. There's a link down there at the bottom for it. So a lot of great places to go there to find resources and to learn information about emergency management training in the state of Utah. And so let's go to the next slide. So what's next? And so this is the action part for you so that you can count this as an exercise on your grants and those kind of things, is what's next for your jurisdiction? What's next for you? Identify who your senior officials are. And there may be different segments of that. There might be those elected officials, and then there might be those, like I said earlier, hospital administrator, other people that are critical players in your jurisdiction, but may have a little different role. But how are you going to bring them into your emergency management team? Because a lot of times, I know in rural Utah, we're looking at school buildings and religious buildings to maybe set up an incident command post in. I'll guarantee you those people that are in charge of those facilities would really like that information before you come and commandeer their school, rather than, let them be part of the team. Let them, bring them in. And so that you know what they expect and what their needs are, and they know what yours are. But set up a meeting with them, identify the level of knowledge. How much training do they need? Are they already experts and they've been in this game forever? Then congratulations, a lot of your work's done, and you've done a great job of educating them. But I think that with turnover in elections and in appointments, and as time goes on, a lot of times people forget these things. And so I find that your job as a trainer and a teacher in emergency management is never really over. You just feel like you're getting some speed and some ground made and getting some education done, and lo and behold, all the players change. So it's a never-ending challenge. Okay, and then just provide those resources, those checklists and those forms that are helpful for them, and so that they know what is expected of them. And I'll tell you, you never want to start that. It's us against them. It's not emergency management against the elected official. It's not the responders against the elected officials. It's not law enforcement against elected official, or fire against elected official, or medical against. It's none of that. It's a team effort. And that is our goal, is to bring them in, let them know that they're part of the team. They have a critical role. And it's not enough to just say, oh, you guys are the experts. You go do it and let us know when it's over. No, that doesn't work. Although that blank check mentality may seem appealing, it's not. They have a role. There's only certain things that they're the only ones that can do, like that delegation of authority and those kind of settings in that policy group. They need to be players. They need to know their role, and they need to take an active role in it. So think of it from that team perspective, and make sure that your team's a strong team. And so with that, that is my presentation. Hopefully that wasn't too painful. And hopefully that makes you want to become a NIMS nerd along with me. And with that, I'll turn it over to questions.
Hey, Alden, this is Mark. You just back up your slide to that resource slide you had there a bit ago that showed the 402 class. Okay, that's a good one there. Right there. I got to figure out how to take a screenshot of that.
Mark, we will have the links within the description of the YouTube video for this. So
we'll see how smart you are.
Yep, you'll be able to click on all of those links in that description.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
And this is a great starting point. And that senior leader toolkit is kind of a new, some of that's a little newer in there. It takes you to a FEMA website and gives you some different documents and different thoughts. And there's a little bit to that site. And I think a lot of that has been refreshed since the ICS rewrite in 2019. So that's a good one to go check out if you haven't ever been to that one. But that's a great place for resources. Anything else?
Alden, how often do you recommend that you are training these senior and elected officials?
So, like I said, the more the better. The time that you can get from them, the more time you spend with them, in the long run, the stronger the team is. And so, like I says, if they'll only give you 10 minutes at the beginning of each of their monthly meeting, then take it. But I would say more the better. If you can spend just a few minutes, 15, half hour, at least once a month is a minimum, but more the better. And just, but keep it interesting. And it doesn't need to be a full-fledged training every time. It can be just more of bringing them up to speed and keeping them informed of of your challenges and what's going on. And every jurisdiction is unique. You know, everyone is structured a little different. Even here in the 29 counties in Utah, a lot of them fall under the sheriff, some fall under the county commissioners, some fall under, you know, a different structure altogether. And so, and that's part of being the emergency manager is, you know, learning what's in your jurisdiction going to work for you. So yours might have a little different appearance of who you're meeting with and training. And that goes back to that one slide to identify who those individuals, those key players are. But more the better would be my suggestion. All right. Looks like we answered most of the questions. That's I either did a really good job or a really bad job. There's no in between because I either answered all your questions or it was so bad you're just saying let us out of here. But it's good to see you guys. It's good to spend a few minutes with you, and anything that we can do at Division Emergency Management Training Section, you know, feel free to contact me or Tracy or Rhonda or our fearless leader, Chris Rep. You know, so Chris keeps us online and keeps us plugging away and going. And we look forward to being able to come and meet with you again in person and do some courses and trainings and help you out. So, but in between now and July, feel free to reach out to us, and anything we can do to help you, we are more than glad to do that. So, all right. Thanks for your time.
Well, thank you, Alden, for your presentation today. As a reminder, this webinar and all other webinars in this series will be available on the DEM website at dem.utah.gov/exercises or now at dem.utah.gov/I wonder. Our webinar next week will be I Wonder How I Can Receive Resources Through the State, presented by Ray Thompson. If you have any I Wonder topic suggestions, please reach out to tbodley@utah.gov to have your topic added to our calendar. We're always excited to help you explore and get to know all that DEM can offer the emergency management community. Until next time, keep wondering.